Good evening. How's everybody? I'm Mike Shepard. If I haven't met you, I'm your chairman of the board for Vickers Landing, and I just want to welcome you here and thank you for making the effort to be here. And one of the things I always get to do is immediately turn it over to Darren for the numbers. But welcome, and thank you for making the effort to be here.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I have the pleasure of being able to run you through the financial statements. The fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2023. I'm going to highlight a lot of yearly information since this is the end of the fiscal year. But why don't I just start walking you through the balance sheet. We'll start first with the asset side of the balance sheet and run down to total assets. Let your eyes go to the first arrow at $16.8 million. That's our total current assets. If you look at last year, it's grown $1.5 million from last year. There was a lot of activity during the year, a lot of transactions that occurred over at Oak Ridge, as you know, a lot of debt transactions. But basically, if you recall, back in, I believe, September, I told you that we received the ERC credit. So we have a component of that cash is the ERC credit. We've also, basically during the course of the year, we've had a solid operation. So obviously cash component of that is operations. And we also had gathered up for phase 2, which is the new Marlowe building, that third flat, some customizations and upgrade requests, which amount to almost $800,000, believe it or not. So that's all being offset by drawdowns on phase 1, the owner's direct purchase program. I've discussed that before. That's all been drawn down, as well as drawdowns on the upgrade and customization deposits of phase 1 and remaining retainage. So on a construction job, you always hold back about 10% of the bill for final punch list completion. So we paid out all retainage by the end of the year. So that was the activity that happened during the year. So cash actually grew by $1.5 million, which is a good thing. The next line down, funds held by trustees decreased by $14.5 million from last year. Those are escrow funds. Those are the funds that we held at U.S. Bank for phase 1, the entrance fee deposits. And as we paid down the loan, we released those escrow funds and paid down the debt. Meanwhile, during the year, we had excess entrance fees from phase 1, entrance fees that we received beyond paying down the short-term debt. We took those excess funds and we put them into an escrow fund at Hancock Whitney, $12 million, which we're going to be using to pay down their loan when the Marlowe building is done. When you go to the next arrow down, which is the PP&E and the Oak Ridge project costs, there's a lot of activity there because what we did was we moved all the assets, all the additions associated with phase 1 Oak Ridge from project to plant, property, and equipment. We just basically, now it's in use, so now it becomes part of PP&E. What's remaining in Oak Ridge project costs are the project costs associated with the Marlowe building, that third flat. I was going to say next page, but I have the remote. Okay, so then you have the liability side of the balance sheet. And the items that I've highlighted, those top two, I must say, when you see a liability account go down, that's a good thing, right? And you can see AP and other current liabilities went down about $6 million from last year. It went from $10.8 million, $10.9 million to $4.9 million. Why? Well, because we had retainage from phase 1 in there, the retainage of the construction costs associated with that first phase of Oak Ridge, and we paid that down. So that was a big part of that. When you go down to the next arrow, entrance fee refunds, those are our refundable entrance fees that become payable when somebody passes on. And you can see with all the activity that we had going on, we still maintained the same, pretty much the same balance from last year. During the year, we started off with 6 payables, entrance fee payables on the books. We added 19 refund payables during the year, and we paid out 20. So we ended the year with 5. When you go further down to the 2022 bonds, you'll see that that balance is increasing. That's the $30 million loan that we took out from Hancock Whitney to construct the Marlowe building. And it's a drawdown loan. So now we're through year end, we've drawn $23 million. By the end of the project, which is the end of March, we expect the certificate of occupancy by the end of March. That will be $30 million. And we fully anticipate paying that completely off. So in summary, when you look at the balance sheet, cash has gone up nicely. We've funded the Hancock Whitney reserve fund of $12 million. Our paid PD and accruals have decreased by almost $6 million. Our entrance fee refund liabilities remain the same. We've paid off all of our short-term debt, which was $51.2 million during the year. And we paid off about $2 million in long-term debt, a 21A series bonds, the long-term bonds. And we also decreased our refundable liability by almost $3.5 million. And that's despite adding a few contracts, refundable contracts from Oak Ridge. So that's pacing very well. It's winding down very well. So overall, if you look at that last arrow, our net deficit improved by over $7 million. And the reasons why, we had the ERC credit, we had improved profitable operations during the course of the year, and we also had a nice turnaround in the market. And hopefully all your portfolios reflected that. So this is the P&L. All right, so when you look at operating revenues compared to budget were down. A couple of reasons. The second flat of phase 1 wasn't released to us until about a month and a half later than we projected. So we had a slow start in getting that Phillips done in Oak Ridge. And here on campus, unfortunately, we had a significant number of turnovers of smaller units and a good number of transfers to higher levels of care during the year. So our occupancy slipped during the course of the year. So that's something Tess will discuss after when she gets up here and talks about how we're going to be filling those open units here at Sawgrass. What I should mention, which is a real bright spot, is the healthcare services revenue. That was a really nice bright spot during the course of the year. It made up about, I think it was a positive variance of over $1 million, and it more than offset or helped offset the shortfall in independent living. A lot of that had to do with growth in home health, ancillary services like therapies. So a really nice pickup there. We're looking at the other side of the equation, which is the expense side, and trying to control some contract labor. But for the most part, really nice pickup on the health services side. On the expense side, it was unfavorable to budget, primarily due to contract labor, which I just mentioned. We're still having an issue with RNs. It's a worldwide problem. We're not immune to the fact that there just aren't enough registered nurses out there. So we're having to hire outside contract labor, which is very expensive. We also hire outside contract labor for home health. But we have a really good plan of bringing people on as full-time employees in home health to increase our margins. And it's already showing some benefits in the first part of this year. Cash flow. A couple quarters ago, the cash flow wasn't in here. Someone asked for it to be put back, so it's back. It's broken down. The cash flow really is the most it is a powerful statement, and it really does tell the story of the CCRC. And when you look at that first component, which is cash from operating activities, the majority of our cash from operating activities comes from, obviously, operations, and we had a nice bottom line gain this year. It also comes from new entrance fees. So you can see the new entrance fees amounted to about $10.5 million. So now that, of course, is offset by having to pay off your accounts payable, right? I talked to you about that before. So the net number, for the most part, a positive $7 million amounts to that activity. When you look at investing activities, it's primarily due to the 19 million reduction or use of cash comes from having to pay for the Oak Ridge expansion costs. And that's basically offset by the drawdown of the project fund and the capitalized interest fund, or the funded interest fund, that we put aside when we did the borrowing. So you just net those numbers and they pretty much come to the use of financing activities. And the last one, which is the provided by financing activities, essentially that one is, let's see here, we're drawing down the 2022 bonds, so you're getting about $18.6 million related to that. So that's giving you money as you draw down on that loan. But we're paying off entrance fee refunds. So money's going out the door. So if you net those two, that gives you pretty much the net number of financing activities. The rest of it all kind of offsets each other. So that's why I don't really mention each line item. We'd be here all day if I did that. So cash statements, what's important to talk about? Well, I talked about cash and investments going up $1.3 million, which is a good thing. I talked about the arrow down at the bottom, the Hancock Whitney operations refund account, which is about $12 million. You take that $12 million and you combine what we have for projected entrance fees from move-ins for Marlowe, which is about $16.5 million, and the reserve that we have of $700,000, and that accounts for the $30 million that we're going to be paying back. So we're there on paying back the loan. And then the last thing I want to notice, for you to notice, is the 2021 MTI entrance fees of $2.7 million. That actually shouldn't be under restricted. That should be under unrestricted, not restricted. And we've asked, we did a journal entry in January to fix that, and we've told the auditor so they reclassify it. But what that is essentially the initial entrance fees from Phase 1 Oak Ridge, after we pay down the debt, after we establish the $12 million escrow funds for Hancock Whitney, everything after that is unrestricted. It can come into operations. But we were still transacting it through our escrow agent, and it ended up in the master trust indenture account. So that moved up to operations in January. So I just wanted people to know that. And that's my finance report. Are there any questions? I see one hand.
There's an item of other revenue, something around $3 million, I think. I think it says miscellaneous revenue.
Yes.
That's a substantial amount.
Yep. That's the ERC credit.
That's what?
That's the those are the funds that we received earlier in the year on the employee retention credit that we applied for through and it was part of the
okay.
PPP loan.
Okay, you're treating that as revenue.
That's right.
All right, I understand.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
my report will be a little bit shorter and probably not as many numbers. But I would like to announce a couple of things that we're very excited about on the foundation end. Pleased that the construction has started for a project that Rip and Linda DuPont gave to the foundation. And hopefully next month we'll be able to open and dedicate the Interfaith Chapel in the Windsor Health Center. Priscilla is doing a wonderful job along with Diane Purple. What I've seen so far is going to be beautiful. And it'll be a place for families and friends to pray and spend time. And it's right located across from the Frost living room in the Health Center. Very, very nice. Also very excited to announce that the 2024 Vickers Landing Foundation Charity Golf Classic will be held at the Yards, which is right next to Oak Ridge, on April the 9th. And we're adding pickleball this year. So we're going to have golf and pickleball. I would encourage all of you to try pickleball. Bill Tickle is going to try pickleball. That's what he told me. All this year, all the proceeds will be going to local charities. For example, London Air and other charities that support seniors locally. So right now, we are almost equal to what we brought in last year. So very excited about the fact that we'll be here. We'd love to have all of you participate. We are working right now with the architects on some final drawings for the new memory center, assisted living at Oak Ridge. Once these architectural drawings are complete, Bruce Jones and myself will be holding some small meetings over at Oak Ridge to talk about how you might want to dedicate a room to a family member or loved one. Last but not least, I'm pleased to announce that the Vickers Landing Guest Suite is available. It's a wonderful marketing tool that Tess uses for guests that keep coming in from out of town. However, when the room isn't being used for future residents, you would have an opportunity to make a reservation for a family member or for a friend. More details are at the main security desk at the Windsor Health Center to be able to take reservations. We'll take the reservations only up to 30 days. So once the 30 days, you're looking for something this summer, 30 days after that. And that is my report. I think I've hit all the numbers there. And if you have any questions, you have the answer. After that, yes, ma'am. Guest suite is in I-201. And it's beautiful. Sorry. The guest suite, the charges on the guest suite, $225 off season, $275 during the season, and those would be donations to the foundation, so there would be a tax. And it would be charged directly to the members. And then I'll come get the money. Any other questions? With that, I'd like to have a long introduction here for Dale Purple. He asked me to give you want a long one.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be with you this afternoon. Would like to update you on progress at Oak Ridge, which is pretty exciting. You heard Darren talking about the different phases. As a reminder, phase 1 was the clubhouse, 109 independent living units, the gatehouse, and the work that we did on parcel C, the lake and the other, what used to be the old 11th fairway. That phase is complete. We're in the process right now, as Darren mentioned, of finishing up phase 2. Phase 2 includes the third flat and 5 new cottages going in. The flat is scheduled to be finished. Dana's, our contractors, are scheduled to be out of there by April 1st. So Tess and her team is in coordinating with the folks that are going to be moving in, and so beginning the first week of April, they'll begin the process members moving into that new. The 5 cottages are scheduled to be finished by end of May, and one of them, and the other towards the end of June. And so folks will start moving in there in June and early July time. And that winds up phase 2. We will go into phase 3, and this is the last phase of the Oak Ridge project. And in this phase is the memory care building and the assisted living building. We've been working very closely with Elizabeth and Kendall and the department heads, with architects and engineers on every detail of those buildings. And we're about 95% complete. And so we hope to finish that up over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we'll have construction documents that we can bid out to contractors, and that will happen in early June. With that, what we anticipate is construction beginning hopefully in the fall of this year, 2024. We anticipate about 18 months to construct the building. It could be a little less, but around 18 months. And that would mean they would open in first half of 2026, which based on how this has gone, will be here before you know it. And so with that, what I'd like to do is give you a feel for what these 2 buildings are going to look like. And so with that, if we can coordinate this. And I'll talk as this is a drive-through. And as we're approaching, this is from the campus side, looking towards the ocean. That building is the assisted living building. 4 stories and 42 units in it. As we go around the building, behind that fence are generators, trash compactors, and so shielded from view. We're approaching what would be the south side of the assisted living building. This building is adjacent to that lake as you go into Sawgrass Village. So if we pause here for a minute, this is facing south, and so folks in this building, they will have that lakefront view where they'll be able to go out and see. They're going to have a great view from that vantage point. What you'll notice too is this architecture blends in with the current architecture on the campus. So these are beautiful buildings that are going in. We're now approaching the A1A side, facing the buildings from A1A. And the first building you see there on your left is the assisted living. And the building you see coming up on your right is the memory care. Notice that's a 2-story building. And we have stop there. That walkway, this was, you wouldn't think about it, it gets really complicated. The guidelines were that you could not have a building parallel to A1A any longer than 150 feet. And so we turned the buildings a little bit sideways. We have them catty-cornered. But we really wanted to have a walkway connecting the assisted living to memory care. Worked this with the county and wasn't sure we were going to be able to get that approved, but they signed off on it. That will be really beautifully landscaped, and it connects the 2 buildings. There also, you can see the parking there. There's 60 parking spaces along this side of the buildings. We're coming up on the Memory Center building. Again, we're looking from A1A. 18 units on the bottom floor. The top floor will have offices, therapy, the wellness clinic, a beautiful break room, this view here is as you are driving in and you look to the left, this is the view. And as I said, on the top floor, offices, storage space, conference room, and a really nice break room for the staff. When we had to downsize the clubhouse when we first began this project and we're doing some value engineering, it really kind of cramped the space. And so we've got some great facilities here for the staff for their break. So, as I said, this building will be hopefully started in the fall of 2024. That's when we anticipate it to begin. It'll take 18 months at least to build it, and we would expect these two buildings being open in 2026. The timing of this is really important. You've heard Bruce talk about our master plan, but all this is tying into the bigger picture of also what we plan to do on this campus. What I'd like to do now is show you some renderings of what does the inside look like. We're not inside yet. Why don't we go around one more time just to make sure? There we go. So this is the entry to the assisted living building, and as you look at these renderings, what really struck me as we've gone through this is it feels like the clubhouse. The decor, the colors, the lighting, it has a really nice feel to it. This is the assisted living dining room. The living room in the assisted living building. And these are just some of the rooms, but it gives you a feel for the decor and the job that the designers have done. This is the corridor in the Memory Center, and you see that scheme has carried through. And dining area in the Memory Center. So again, these are going to be beautiful, beautiful buildings. They're going to really fit in well with our campus and really complement to the clubhouse. And so with that, I'm turning it over to Tess. But one of the things I'd say is she's coming up and what an incredible job the marketing team, the whole staff has. But I was really struck. I looked at some numbers. I don't want to steal her thunder on an incredible report she's going to have. But I will say this. In 2022 and 2023, those 2 years, and the first 1.5 months of this year, her team has sold roughly 200 units in that period of time. And it's not just the contract. It's all the finishing work, the meeting with folks, to help them make those decisions and move in. So when you think about that, that's an incredible number, and we're fortunate that Tess and her team were with us. So with that, Tess. I forgot one thing. And some of you may be interested in alternate access. How could I have forgotten that? I dream about it every night. 2 weeks ago, we submitted our permitting to the county. John Clark and Ryan Steele with the Process Engineering, and I met with Teresa Bishop, who is head of land growth development for St. Johns County. We met with her about a month ago, went over what we had wanted to do. She felt it was totally in order. So the first step was to make a submission for a small adjustment to the development plan. We expect to have comments back by tomorrow on that. We do not anticipate any issues because she had already told us it looked good from her standpoint. Then the next aspect will be submitting the civil and landscape plans to the county. So in terms of how long that would take, it could take up to 6 months. We're hoping it's going to be a lot sooner than that. We feel like we've got the plans are well in place. We submitted Dr. Perry's plans along with ours, and so we're working hand in hand with him on this. So who knows, maybe by the end of the year. 3 to 4 months to construct. Yeah, question? Was that a question to the alternate accent?
No, that took care of it, thank you.
Okay, good, all right. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to know if you're phasing out Stratford for the assisted living. It looks very large, and I just wanted.
Yeah, that's all part of our master planning. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting on that tomorrow morning with Elizabeth and Kendall and Bruce, and we're looking at that whole phasing of what we're going to do there will tie in with timing and so on at Oak Ridge. It's all linked together.
Hi all, it's good to see you, although you've been seeing a lot of me. Yeah, a lot. Okay, so I thought I would just kind of give you a review of sales since December 1, because I think the last quarterly was in November, if I'm right. So Sawgrass, we've had 9 sales in the last 3 months, and I'm expecting 5 more contracts signed by the end of next week. That would put us at 14 over the last 3 months. Oak Ridge, we've had 6 new contracts since December 1, and I'm expecting 2 more in the next week or so. That would total 8 in a 3-month period. The really good news, though, because I kind of look in the future, because you know when we opened Oak Ridge, we really took a dent in the wait list. We've had 31 new associate members, and we're not even done with February yet, but 31 new associate members, which is the wait list, since December 1. So I'm pretty happy with all of those numbers. We are having our first home tour at Oak Ridge. It will be on March 20. We are focusing on the flats, only because, I mean, I don't even know when cottages will come about, and we do have a few of the smaller flats still not sold. They will get sold. Certainly they'll get sold based on that home tour. That's kind of what we've been doing. And so to close out my presentation on a personal note, if you haven't tried the Blue Heron Burger, give it a try, because I will tell you that bacon jam that's on it is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you all for all you do every time we're walking, and this is both sides of the both campuses. Every time we're walking around, people are so quick to stop, smile, greet, chat, and it just makes all the difference in the world. It's not a tour, it's a visit to their possibly new home, so thank you for all you do.
Good afternoon. Late last year, we talked about ways to maybe streamline this portion of the meeting. So the thinking was that I would give the reports for all the operational departments, and oddly, all of the department heads unanimously agreed to have me do it. So we're going to give that a shot, but just know that at the end of the meeting, you'll see a wall of department heads in the back. We're all going to be available back. If you have just a specific question about something, please stop back there and say hello. So we will start with plant operations. They have been, as always, very busy. There's a significant upgrade underway with the fire alarm panels across all the independent living buildings here at Sawgrass. That work is being done by Johnson Controls. The goal is to accomplish this without any disruptions to you, but should there be a need to test the system, we're going to notify you ahead of time. Plant operations is also working to restripe the parking lots to not only improve safety, but also the aesthetic appeal of the community. Our preventative maintenance schedule, including air filter replacements and pressure washing buildings and sidewalks, along with all the landscaping maintenance, are of course ongoing. I also want to report from our work order system that 1,493 work orders were fulfilled from November 1 to February 14, with over half of those completed on the same day, which is an increase since last quarter. I also wanted to report on a new member of the team that many of you may already know. Byron Pennington has joined us as the Assistant Director of Plant Operations. This new position was put in place to support the growth of the community and to assist Enver in the day-to-day operations of plant operations. Byron became known to us through Project Search, which we have running here on campus. We met him a few years ago while touring the Renaissance at World Golf Village, where he was in charge of the program there. So Byron, I don't know if you want to stand up. He's in the back, so you can put a face with your name, but welcome to the community. That's impossible to read, but it's colorful. So turning to activities, the January 25th trip to the Okefenokee was successful with an equal number of members going from both campuses. Thank you to Joe and Georgia Carroll for suggesting the trip, and to Megan for making the arrangements and serving as the chaperone. A big thanks to Ken Gorman and his cast for another great play reading of Redemption, which was held on January 31st to a very full house. The dog parade at Oak Ridge on February 13th was a big success. 23 of our furry friends participated, and thank you to Vicki Paul for her help, and to Jerry Evans for being the MC, and to Janine and Megan for organizing and assisting. There was a trip to Flagler College that was successful and included lunch with John Delaney and a private tour. And thank you to Dick and Kathy Keller at Oak Ridge for assisting with those arrangements. A music trivia night organized by Nancy Mock will be held in the auditorium on February 29th, with Mrs. Mock playing many musical favorites. Don't miss the fun. There's no sign-up necessary, and there are prizes for the winners. And there are 2 dances coming up. Denim and Diamonds at Oak Ridge on March 22nd, and Shall We Dance at Sawgrass on April 10th. And there will be more details on that to follow. Dining Services is working on several initiatives. They're meeting with Accent Interiors to bring in some live plants to the dining room here at Sawgrass. And they're also planning on more action stations in the dining room, like the prime rib carving station we had last night. That should provide a more interactive and enjoyable dining experience. Our upcoming Sawgrass kitchen tours, beginning at the end of March, will offer a behind-the-scenes look at our culinary operations, inviting residents to engage more with our dining services team. Additionally, we have seasonal events coming up, like the St. Patrick's Day celebration on March 18th, the Easter Sunday buffet on March 31st, along with a Caribbean-themed pool event at Oak Ridge in April. All those are being planned. And the Hawthorne Kitchen is now open. The hours for the kitchen there are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. I also thought it'd be interesting to see the numbers of meals served at both campuses. Sawgrass had a grand total of 18,479 meals served in January. Oak Ridge had 5,440. The 18,000 plus meals at Sawgrass, they do include the 3 meals per day at both of Windsor, which was 4,400 meals, and the Stratford dining rooms at 2,132 meals. Overall, the dining services department for Vickers Landing served a grand total of 23,919 meals just in January. Pretty impressive. Housekeeping. We now maintain a fully staffed team. We do understand that there's been some concern expressed about language barriers with some staff that might have limited English proficiency. We just ask for continued patience and understanding as these new staff get acclimated to these new surroundings. We are trying to identify ways to improve communications, and we do know that many have support organizations that offer English classes that they could certainly benefit from. We've also been receiving a lot of positive feedback on our annual cleaning efforts since they started at Oak Ridge, and we're receiving the same feedback here at Sawgrass. And Donna also wanted to report that the end of the year totals for the 2023 employee sales was $5,200, with those proceeds being split between the Employee Scholarship Fund and the Employee Hardship Fund. And now a fun one. With security, a topic that we talk about frequently is scams. And one of the reasons we speak about it so much is that your age group is disproportionately targeted by these scammers for a number of reasons. You're seen as being more trusting of others, especially for those who claim to be looking out for you. You tend to have more in savings and assets. You're perceived to not be as tech savvy. And just on top of that, the scammers know you're also less likely to report instances of these scams for fear of losing your independence or being seen as incapable of managing your own affairs. I put up on the screen just a few of the most common scams that you run into that we've seen here. You have the government imposter scam, It's someone pretending to be from the IRS or the Social Security Administration, Medicare, or other government agency demanding a payment for a debt. The sweepstakes scams, someone telling you that you won a prize but must wire money to claim it. Don't tell anyone. And you would be surprised how many of these work. Illegal robocalls and phone scams. Be on the alert for callers who ask you, "Can you hear me?" And if you receive these calls, they recommend you should hang up and don't answer. According to an organization called Scam Alert from the Better Business Bureau, scammers can edit your yes answer to make it sound like you've authorized a purchase. Technology is a wonderful thing. Computer tech support scams. Watch for communications said to come from computer companies such as Microsoft or Apple that ask for remote access to a device. Granting access can result in theft of private information, passwords, and money. They can also lock your computer until you pay a ransom. Last but not least are grandparent scams. Scammers ask older adults to wire money to help a grandchild in trouble. Best thing you can do is call the grandchild directly, verify the story with another family member, and ask questions that only family members could answer. So there are, without a doubt, some not so nice people out there, but just take a moment to think about whatever that situation may be. If something doesn't sound right, call someone you trust to verify what information you were given. If someone is pressing you to act now or imploring you not to tell anyone, it's probably a scam. So like Scott always says, awareness is key to preventing this type of abuse, and while it's not the most pleasant of topics, please reach out to any one of us should you have any questions. We're more than happy to help. And with that, we'll have Elizabeth with the Health Center report.
Excuse me,
Oh.
I have one
Yes.
that you would add that I never answer my phone until I hear from my answering who's calling.
Good idea. I know if you have an iPhone, there's a way to block unknown callers. That's also a good, I have it set on my phone. So if they're not in your contact list, you won't even know they called, and you may see a voicemail from them. But I would strongly recommend that.
Kendall, repeat what she said, please.
She had said that she doesn't answer her phone. She lets it go to basically voicemail until she hears who the person is that's calling. And don't even pick it up. And call them back.
I don't know about myself, if I were my landline,
Mhm.
I do not answer until I know who's.
I think it's unfortunate that's the world we live in, but that's a smart thing to do. I know, we get a lot of questions, especially on the computer side, about pop-ups on iPads, and we have a great partner with Umbrella IT, and those guys are available to help you through those kind of issues. So also reach out to them. Those guys are geniuses with this stuff. But we run into these things here on campus, so I'm not putting this up here because we don't see it, because unfortunately we do. And it can be devastating. Anything else? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see you today. I have 4 updates from healthcare today. The first is our Integrated Memory Enhancement Program. We have been talking about this for 8 months. We started introducing this program to you last June, and after 8 months of recruiting, we have 2 facilitators. So it's really a wonderful way to start the year. We have 2 young ladies who currently work at Oak Bridge who have a passion for serving individuals who experience cognitive loss. So you may or may not have met them. Veronica Funk and Stephanie Augusta have been assisting Oak Bridge Dining, and were introduced to the IMEP program and are now going to be joining us on the healthcare team as well to begin our classes. So we've provided overviews of the program over the last 6 months, and there will be another article in the Vicar's Voice and also information placed in your social mailboxes next week, just detailing the program. But the classes will begin on March 18th. The class schedule is Monday and Wednesday, and we will be holding the classes in the Mountain Star Building, which is the current, or has been, the location for the Design Center for Oak Bridge. This is intended to be a temporary location, and as the memory care building is built on the Oak Ridge campus, we have created a space on the second floor so that our individuals that attend the IMEP program will have a place to go. Security and transportation will assist us with getting residents to the classes, and our dining department will provide the meals. So there will be more information coming in the next few days. And if you are interested or know of someone who is interested in attending the IMEP program, please have them reach out to myself or the wellness nurses on each campus. Christy McMiniman for the Sawgrass campus and Jennifer Jackson for the Oak Ridge campus. They too have information and will meet with individuals one-on-one who may have an interest. I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the Red Bag Initiative for our advanced directives. At the beginning of January, we had Dr. Allison Bartfield, the medical director for AgeWell, come out and speak to residents about the importance of executing our advanced directives. We then had 2 follow-up meetings, one on each campus, and our local partners, the St. Johns County Fire and Rescue, joined us as well, and really support this program. So if you do have questions or need further information, we had a great turnout, and a lot of the residents took the red bags and placed them in their refrigerators with their advanced directive information. We've already received information back from St. Johns County Fire and Rescue that they have seen the red bags. So an excellent new initiative for the community. All new residents who move into Vickers Landing will receive an introduction to the Red Bag Initiative, and each year it will be a kickoff for us in January, where we will invite all residents to come in, receive a new red bag, complete new paperwork, answer any questions that they may have. And as I said, the wellness nurses will work with each resident as they move into the community. We launched a 2024 educational speaker schedule this year in 2024. So each month, we have an educational opportunity for all of our residents to attend. We looked at topics that we felt might be of interest, and we have found local experts to come in and speak to you on behalf of those topics. In March, we'll be having the National Nutrition Month, and we'll be celebrating that. We have Dr. Nathan Riddle, who is a local physician who will come in and speak with us. In April, we have Parkinson's Awareness Month, and we again have an individual, a local expert coming in. We're also using our own local experts. Dr. Lex Gonzalez, for those of you who don't know our Director of Rehab, he is a PhD doctor and has immense knowledge on rehabilitation, osteoporosis, balance, and gait. So he will be our May speaker. This information is posted on Cubigo, and we intentionally alternated between the 2 campuses so that we could hopefully reach all residents and give everyone an opportunity to attend. At the end of the year, we'll take a look at the topics that we had and discuss what we want to bring back, and we look forward to your input as well as to what you might like to hear more about. And last but not least, COVID updates. Every time I think we're not going to talk about COVID, we continue to talk about COVID. So just to recap, currently what our criteria is for quarantine. Now this is according to the CDC. For individuals living at a community level, which is all of us, the recommendation is that if you test positive for COVID, you should quarantine for at least 5 days. And the day of your positive test is day 0. And then if I tested positive today, but I had symptoms 2 days ago, my day 0 would be 2 days ago. So we need to know what your symptoms timeframes were, or what your COVID test was, or when it occurred, if you need any assistance. But these are the recommendations based on the CDC. So days 1 through 5, remain in your apartment. And then days 6 through 10, you can certainly come out amongst your community members, but the recommendation is that you wear a mask and no communal dining until day 11. We follow variations of these same recommendations in the health center and in the assisted living. And again, they are specific to those living environments. And we are anticipating that there will be a spring update from the CDC on COVID quarantining and recommendations. The information that I received yesterday is that this will be targeted to community members such as ourselves, and that there are no real updates for our skilled nursing or assisted living residents, but for those of us who live in the community. So if you have questions, please let me know. We're always happy to answer them.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everyone. Don't we have an amazing team here? I'm so proud of this team and everything we've been able to accomplish on your behalf. Let me open this up. And so now I will get to the questions that were submitted ahead of time. We did have several questions, and so I will jump right into it. The first question reads, as I have told you all along, I will read any question that is submitted to me and answer it. And so the question is, we are advised that management has awarded itself a $4 million plus bonus. We are also advised that they are already paid a more than adequate income. Why are Vickers funds being wasted? And it was signed Vickers members. First, there is no truth to this at all. As I have urged you several times before, if you hear a rumor, and as you may have noticed, there are rumors that go around the Vickers Landing campus from time to time. But if there's a rumor with which you disagree, please come see me. I'm always happy to meet with you, answer your questions. You see the financials. This was certainly a surprise to the team. The first thing is that it's not true, and I'm always happy to talk to you about anything that you're unsure of. Second, we work at the pleasure of a board of directors, so we have no ability to award ourselves big bonuses. Third, we keep up annually with salaries for each position within our industry and within our market using third-party data. And from that data, I can assure you that we are not the highest paid team by quite a bit. We do what we can to be competitive to retain the highest quality team, but each member of the management team could be making quite a bit more somewhere else, especially in a for-profit community. And finally, if this helps any of you at all, I drive a used car. I live 17 miles away because it's too expensive to live in Ponte Vedra Beach. I obviously don't wear fancy clothes. But I and this team work here at Vickers Landing because this is such a special place, and we want to be sure that you're receiving the best in care and services. So the second question says, this is not a very important question, but I like to have a coffee late in the afternoon. Usually the Blue Heron is out by then, and they're not making any more. The dining room puts out 2 pots, but only on Mondays. Is there a possibility that coffee could be made available to people who like a cup during the late afternoon? There are no unimportant questions, and I'm happy to say this has already been addressed. So thank you for bringing this up. If this routine is important to someone, then the question is important to us. So I have already spoken with Robert, and we have just a small home coffee maker in the Blue Heron to make a fresh cup of coffee for someone who wants one in the late afternoon. So it's already installed, ready to go. So if you like a late afternoon coffee and that carafe is empty, just let the staff know and they'll be happy to brew some. The third question reads, the member handbook provides at page 19 that if a resident is absent from Vickers Landing for more than 14 days, a meal credit allowance is available in conformance with our meal credit policy. We were denied any credit for an absence in November 2023 of more than 14 days. The reason given was that the credit is only available if the charges for meals previously incurred during the month did not exceed the daily allowance times the number of days present. We were told this is a written rule, that a copy would be provided, but it has not been. If this is in fact the rule, is it in writing? What's the rationale? So this is further discussed on page 4 of the overview of services and amenities that everyone received in their cubbies at the beginning of the year. And that outlines all the costs and services for the upcoming year. An example of how that credit is applied is also included in there. But I appreciate your question because that does show us that perhaps what we have submitted to you is not clear enough. So we'll work to remedy that. In essence, a credit without a reduction in the monthly allowance is equivalent to paying you to not be here, which was not the intent. The reason we put the practice in place that we did is to allow you the most flexibility by allowing you to keep a full dining allotment so that during the time you are on campus, you might want to have additional meals, or you might want to have guests dine with you. And then if you have been absent for 14 days or longer, if you have an overage, the credit is applied and you're not charged that amount. So we'll make sure that that's more clear going forward. I appreciate that question. Next says, could the Lancaster garage be cleaned now that the construction of the third flat is basically complete? So I passed that along to Enver, and as you all know of Enver, it's already been taken care of. There is only one recumbent bike in the Oak Ridge Fitness Center. Could another be added? The 5 treadmills are more than necessary. Could one be replaced by a recumbent bike? So we had already budgeted for an additional Cybercycle recumbent bike. We returned the rental treadmills, so now that the new ones are working well, so there should only be 3 there, as there are at Sawgrass. But the new bike is being ordered. Janice is working with her representative on that, and it will be installed as soon as it arrives, and Janice said that's about 6 weeks from now. If a text, email, or call is made to all residents that a facility is closed indefinitely, could the same notification be sent when it reopens? Absolutely, that is a reasonable request. It's a rare occurrence when that happens, but we will be sure if we do call and say something is closed down, once the all clear is given, we'll follow up with the all clear. Next, could the tables and chairs in the Oak Ridge card room be replaced with more appropriate tables for card playing and more movable chairs? We have had several comments about those card room tables and chairs, so it is already being evaluated. Kendall is working with a number of key people to see what can be done there, so more to come on that, but it is being evaluated. Next, could the golf cart parking underneath the portico at the Oak Ridge Clubhouse be limited to residents? This would permit handicapped residents to come to the clubhouse on rainy days without getting wet. Another very reasonable request. I've already sent that out to the department heads to ensure that their staff park the carts, the Vickers Landing carts on the east side of the building and enter through that east side. So you should already see a difference there. The portico should be clear. The next one reads, I would like to see the preliminary plans for the renovation of Vickers Sawgrass. Are they available for residents to view? And the answer is no, they are not. I did a couple of presentations to show the results of the master plan late last year, and related to those presentations, the master plan is very, very conceptual, very high level, and it would change when we got into architectural drawings. So I wasn't going to put those out for public consumption. We did record those presentations so that you can see them on our YouTube channel. I did recently learn that they were not uploaded where they needed to be. We're getting that addressed so you can view the presentation. And when we do move to the next step of architectural drawings, I will again share that information with residents, and we will of course have a committee of residents involved in the process as we did with the master plan. The next question, hang in there, this is a longer one. Could you please explain to the members why there are such significant differences in the dining experience at the Sawgrass and Oak Ridge campuses? One would think that if the experience was the same, not only would the attendance between the two locations be more balanced, but with similar or identical menus, there would be economies of scale in the purchasing of food and beverage. Whenever we have dined at Oak Ridge, both the casual and main dining areas have seemingly been at or near capacity, while many nights the Sawgrass dining rooms seem to be 10 to 20% filled. We also notice when we dine at Oak Ridge, there are quite a few Sawgrass residents having dinner there. The same cannot be said for the number of Oak Ridge residents dining at Sawgrass. Rarely do we see that. One has to ask why this is so, but we can speculate that food quality and ambiance may be factors. We do not have a great deal of experience dining at Oak Ridge, but in the limited times we have dined there, the quality of the appetizers, entrees, and desserts have been of a decidedly superior level than those served at Sawgrass. Also, the choices are more interesting and are closer to what one would see on a restaurant menu. As an example, when is the last time oysters on the half shell were offered on the Sawgrass menu? However, on one of our recent visits to Oak Ridge, there they were. Can you please tell us why these disparities exist when both campuses are allegedly paying the same for their meals? After all, we are supposed to be one Vickers. This is probably a much more complicated matter that can be dealt with at this meeting, but it is an issue that management needs to address. So I will try to hit everything in there. But I do welcome this person, this was an unsigned question. I do welcome you to come and talk with me or with Kendall or Robert to understand more. But first, the menus and the ambiance are actually intentionally different at all 4 dining venues, so the residents have more choice in dining. There are many reasons why more people may be visiting the dining room at Oak Ridge, and those could include novelty, demographics, menu selection for the day, and much more. As to something like oysters, Robert's predecessor, Abby, was quite against serving raw shellfish because of the potential for foodborne illnesses. So she didn't like to do that. Robert asked if I had an objection when he started here, which I did not, as long as you were made aware of what you were eating and the risks. So he had it tried on the menu with great success. You'll see more things like that as Robert continues to evolve our dining services. The second big issue is that the kitchen at Sawgrass and the menu it serves must be held to a higher regulatory standard since we cook for the Windsor Health Center and prepare some food for the Stratford. Those highly regulated areas require different preparations and timing, so that has to be part of the consideration. As we work toward a new health center in the master plan, we will be evaluating a separate kitchen for that space so that we have more flexibility in the main dining room. Finally, Robert and his team are working on a modernization of the menu and presentation in the Sawgrass dining room. Now that the Blue Heron has been updated and service at Oak Ridge has been stabilized, we all recognize that we're serving a different generation and will continue to evolve to changing tastes and preferences, but this does take time. As you heard some of the new things that Robert is already doing in the Sawgrass dining room with the prime rib carving station last night, you'll see more come along now that step 1 was the Blue Heron, step 2 the Oak Ridge dining room, getting that settled. And so it is a process, but Robert is on top of it. All right, next question. Any chance that we can have menus printed up again? It's such a pain not to have them. Also, the waiters need to pay more attention to what they're doing. I've gotten so many errors: no fruit, no dressing, no deliveries at all, or delivered at 7 p.m. First, if you truly need the menu printed, you can talk to Robert and he can arrange to get you something. But I do appreciate you letting us know about the issues you had with service, and Robert has received that and will be monitoring that. Next is, can plant ops call before they come in any old time? So the plant operations gentlemen should be knocking when they arrive. If you have a need for service, and you can call and talk to Leah about scheduling perhaps a range of time for the work to be done. But when there are inspections that have to be done on all homes, when there are filter replacements that have to be done on all homes, we can't schedule for every person, so we just need to make sure they're done. But they should be knocking before they come in. If that's not happening, please talk to Edinburgh. Next says, when will the Oak Ridge Memory Center be complete? As you heard from Dale, we plan to begin work on that phase at the end of this year, and it will take 18 months or so to complete, so we hope to have it done around the second quarter of 2026. When will road access be complete? So, as you heard from Dale, permitting could take up to 6 months. We're hoping it will be shorter, but then the work will take 3 to 4 months to complete after that. Excuse me. Next, is it possible for someone who knows to address the round table and large chairs in the Oak Ridge dining room to address a change? We have taken one of the chairs to the designer to address the height or replacement of those chairs. And once a solution is agreed to, the chairs will be corrected. The team is also working on solutions for the table, but I don't have a timeline on that, so it is in process. Vickers Oak Ridge seems second in class in the following. First, no nurse on weekends or evenings. Why? The answer to that, Elizabeth Scholler, our Director of Health Services, put out a memo to all Oak Ridge residents last July outlining the process until the assisted living is built and we have round-the-clock nursing on the Oak Ridge campus. So let her know if you need another copy of that memo. But Oak Ridge is still growing, so it just takes time for everything to be in place. The second part of that question, no bus pickup and delivery for special events. forced to take shuttle. Why? Well, we did try to have 2 buses for the Flagler College event last week, and we're told that each bus felt like second-class citizens. So, in using the shuttle, we are trying to make it a convenience, so there's limited waiting on one campus or the other. The challenge we have is that there are always residents who are still eating or perhaps running behind doing something else when we set the time to leave. So as a courtesy, we do call them and we wait for them rather than just leaving. We did even have someone recently finishing dinner when it was already time to leave and then told the driver they had to go home and walk their dog. So there are those sorts of things that we try to accommodate people. The alternative is that we set hard times for pickup, and if you miss the bus, you miss the bus. Though we would prefer not to do that and disappoint folks. Finally, I am told that the bus does drop off at Oak Ridge when coming back from a Jacksonville area event, but the U-turn is difficult in the big bus, and so the shuttle will be used for the time being for that reason. The next part of that question is unequal amenities between campuses. When will Oak Ridge get croquet and bocce? We have been looking into adding croquet, but the final estimate was twice the budgeted amount of money that we had set aside. So first of all, if someone would like to help sponsor that, we can certainly move up that timeline. But second, it was never our intent to have an exact copy of the Sawgrass campus at Oak Ridge. The campuses are meant to be complementary, but we will get croquet there when we have the funds set aside to do that. The next part of that same question says communications are lacking regarding the Oak Ridge campus. Again, this was unsigned, so I can't respond directly, but I would need this person to come and speak with me about what they feel is lacking. There is communication about activities, about dining, and so forth, both on Cubigo and on postings in the clubhouse. We update you on the construction progress at these meetings, and if there's something that needs to be communicated in between times or that affects just a segment of the population, we do that at the appropriate time. So if there's something else that is lacking in communication, please come and talk to me about it, and we can talk about how to address that. And then the final part of that question just says, thank you for the beautiful new putting green. So you're welcome. If you are not aware, over at Oak Ridge, we have added a putting green that will open with the opening of the Marlowe building. So that east end of the campus is really coming along. It's going to be stunning. Now, I did have another question that was submitted just before this meeting, and so I didn't have time to review it with the team, so I'm not going to get into a complete answer here. As I see, it is about electric versus gas-powered blowers, which is something that we've addressed in these meetings previously. So I'll dig into this question, and I'll get back with the person who submitted it. But those are all the questions that were submitted ahead of time. So let me take a breath and ask if there is anyone who has a question from the floor. And if you would, please wait for Scott to come with the microphone so everyone, or Chris also has a microphone, so everyone can hear your question. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about when can we expect an increase in the mill allocation program?
I'm sorry, an increase?
When can we expect an increase in the meal allotment?
Well, there would not be a need for an increase in the meal allotment unless we change the prices on the menu.
Which you have. That they have been.
Remember, this is monopoly money. It's not actual dollars, but that amount allotted each day gets you what under the old program was a meal a day, which was an appetizer, an entree, a dessert, and a drink. So you should be able to do that with your current allocation.
You cannot.
Okay, that's news to me. Thank you for sharing that. That's something that we'll dig into.
So I will just tell you right quickly, not to take a lot of time, but since May, prices on some of the Oak Ridge menus have gone up 25%.
Okay. All right, thank you for that question. I don't have an answer for you now, but we'll look into that. Yes, sir.
I don't want you to get into too much detail, but just a yes or no on this. There was some mention, I think, at the last meeting, or perhaps before, that there was some possibility of threatened litigation with respect to the development at Oak Ridge. Is there a yes or a no?
There is no litigation right now.
Okay, thank you.
How about the memorial to Bobby West?
And you,
Just wondered about the status of the memorial to Bobby West.
are you talking about her memorial service or, okay, Janice?
It's going to be Saturday, April the 6th here in the Saturday, April the 6th here in the auditorium. The memorial service begins at 4:30 and it will be followed by a reception, as Bobby called it, a cocktail party.
Yes. Very good. Other questions? Yes, Ms. Benson.
I have complained several times about this business of putting your things up on the screen, but we cannot see you or anybody else. I think it would be nice to be able to see the person that is what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. After 17 years of knowing me, you know I don't like the limelight. Julie. Ms. Benson with the lights. Duly noted. We will work on better placement. We certainly don't want to block the screen for anyone, but we can stand on the stage. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Benson. Right, I won't fall off. Other questions? Enver's giving me a thumbs up now that he's blinding me with the lights. Chris?
Thank you for all the great information today. That was helpful. We had it was yesterday or the day before, the Kent building had a fire alarm go off, and it went on for about 15 minutes. And we all have gotten sort of complacent where everybody just says, oh, well, and it's nothing. And I always worry about that there is a fire, but none of us do anything about it. And that's a little scary for me. And maybe I missed it, but it doesn't seem like we ever had a fire drill or anybody come talk to us about that or walk us through what we're supposed to do. And I do, when that happened yesterday, I thought, if this is a real fire, here we all sit, and it just went on and on and on. Scared my dogs to death, too.
I said, well, we as you may know, we have been having inspections of the fire systems over there. So I'm assuming it was related to that, Scott, Ember? Yes, it was related to that. But you raised a great point. If folks don't know what to do, our staff are all trained in fire safety, and so and we drill very regularly in the healthcare areas where we are physically responsible for the people living there. Hopefully you know your evacuation routes in the apartment buildings. Again, just as in a hotel or a high-rise office building, don't take the elevator, use the stairs, know where the stairwells are. And those buildings are constructed to modern fire standards. But, yes, ma'am.
Maybe what we could do is just get an email sent out or a text as soon as it goes off that just says, if you're in the Kent building, just let you know this is a fire, this is not a fire.
Yes.
Just something where you get some notification. because we weren't aware that we were the first building where they started working on it, and we just weren't aware that that was going to happen. Now we know they're going through the campus, but that first building, I don't think we did. Maybe we did not this year.
Okay. And I appreciate you saying that, because what should happen when they are testing something is an announcement comes before and says, this is a test. If you don't hear someone making an announcement, then you should leave the building. But Enver is in here and heard that, and so he will make sure that they're making the appropriate announcements ahead of time when they are doing testing. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, it was on cubicle testing, just, but it was posted on cubicle, but if you heard alarm, I mean, yeah, I'm with her, you guys supposed to be, there's not a assumption, you need to go out, there's a plan how to evacuate, basically, just like you said, in any hotel or anything else. But we will do some drills in the future, definitely.
Right, and announce when it's a test.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Other questions?
Yeah, those are very good questions about the fire alarm. We have one system that keeps going off because I guess I don't know how to do toast. But when does I assume that an in-apartment alarm, which then your security people contact us on, is not the alarm that they're talking about. Is there a building alarm?
Yes, there is a building alarm.
Fortunately, we haven't heard of it. But
Okay. Right, there's a building alarm. What you may have heard is just a smoke detector, which tells you that there's smoke in the area. The major fire system is, I don't know if it's a wet or dry system, but it's a sprinkler system, and if heat reaches a certain level, then that pops off and the sprinklers go off. But when the major sensors for the overall system go off, that's when it goes to a building-wide announcement. Other questions? Very good. As you heard from Kendall, the department heads are going to be here if you have specific questions for them. I appreciate your time.